There we go. And we are live in the 50 plus and fabulous group. Let's see, let's make sure we're going live in our event, going live in the purse strings group. Sweet. Can you still hear me, Jing? All right, cool. So we're so excited to have everyone on today. We have Jing Wang here with us. We're going to, chit chat for a couple of minutes before everybody else gets on. So Jing, where are you tuning in from today?
I'm actually in Long Island, New York. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Sounds beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm so excited for this topic today because sometimes when I talk to our professionals right before when we discuss what we want to talk about, it's like right away, you know what you want to do, which makes me feel that, like you think this is most important, which is great. Even I was talking to somebody else about this presentation and they were just saying how they were looking up the changes to the 10-year rule. And I was like, tune in. You can come check it out with Jing. So how recent are these changes?
It was made into the law in December 2019. So It is only about 2 years old. But it impacts so many people, especially for people who made their plans for the estate planning, since we can do stretch, right? Stretch means you just pass it on to your kids and your kids can pass it to their kids. But now everything has to be exhausted at the 10th year after the primary person's death. So it changed a lot of estate planning.
Definitely. I mean, it sounds like it's also something, most people aren't keeping up on, the changes to these different rules. So I'm so glad you brought this up today and brought it to the table just so all these women can stay educated and really make the plan accordingly, which is great. We're going to wait just another minute or two for a couple more people to pop on and then we can get started.
Definitely.
So as everyone knows, this is our classic Money Monday. We are Purse Strings and we're so excited to be here. Purse Strings is here to offer free financial education for women. But then when they need a financial professional, anything finance from, retirement, from long-term care, from just car insurance, mortgage, buying a house, all that good stuff. We have our Purse Strings approved professionals for you. One of them is Jing Wang. And they're professionals who are going to have your best interest in mind, who are going to keep, answer your calls, who's really going to take care of you and make sure that you're on the right financial path. And we always tell people, sometimes you need to work with a financial team. So it's not just one person, but, you're more than welcome to bring all your professionals together at the table. So you really have the best decisions for you, for your situation. Because everyone's situation is so different. They're not things that you can just Google away. You really need a professional to sit down with you and, help you out and make sure your path stays on path.
Mm-hmm. Yes. By saying that, I want to give a great applause to all the attendees. I think it's the great time to really learn. You should be the director of this orchestra, right? You should have your CPA, have your financial advisor, financial planner, your estate attorney. But you as an individual, you make all the decisions. But based on what? Based on knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. That's why I think I really gave a great round of applause to all the attendees who are here and try to learn and educate themselves, and then they could make the sound decision later on down the road.
I love that. So yes, thank you everyone for coming today. Let me give a little intro to Jing and then we'll get started. So Jing has actually just recently founded Altus Landing Consulting. She is, sorry, I gotta find this. So, you've talked a lot about the importance of planning, and we all have three good friends when it comes to our finances: knowledge, compound interest, and time. She strongly encouraged us to master all three, to embrace them and focus on your life and teach others around you. She's a mompreneur, which I love that word. even though I can't say it, first-generation immigrant from Beijing, China, and she's made financial mistakes in the past 20 plus years in this country. Later on, she drew to a conclusion that you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you need to know, which is everything that I've been learning about finances, is you don't know what you need to know. So you're a lifetime learner and you want to share everything you know to help everyone else who's working on building wealth today. And so with that, Jing, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, appreciate it. Let me share the screen. Give me a second, I have to share the screen. Okay, great. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for Purse String for this great opportunity. I'm here to talk about two main topics. The first portion will be the RMD rules. Maggie, can you confirm everything is okay, right? You can hear the presentation and my sound?
Yep, it's all perfect.
Okay, got it. Good. So, we're gonna do a quick introduction of me and my company, and then we're gonna talk about this RMD, Required Minimum Distribution. Then we will go into details about the RMD. Then we switch the gear a little bit to the 10-year rule, which is, as we just discussed, it's still very new, but it impacts so many people. And then we'll wrap it up, and then I'll give some my own thought about financial literacy and financial knowledge. Just a quick disclaimer: I'm professional, but I'm not giving any legal, accounting, or financial advice in this live stream or broadcasting. Please consult your professional attorney, accountant, and financial advisors for any specific legal and tax and financial advice. As Maggie has already introduced me, I'll just go through this slide very quickly. I am a proud mompreneur. I have 3 kids, and then I started actually an IT startup back in 2016. And then now I own 2 companies. One is Altus Lending Consulting, mainly on the insurance, financial education, annuity, long-term care, as well as IDI side. Another company is for actually real estate investment, which is my Altus Pride enterprise. I consider myself a lifetime learner. I think it's very, very important. As I just mentioned, you need to be the center of your own wealth accumulation. That's your money, your hard-earned money. You need to put the right place for the money to grow, and then also for you to retire with a peace of mind. Give me a second. I think there's some. Okay. Now let's talk about the RMD, Required Minimum Distribution. Well, I think most of people may heard of it, but let's go into details. Basically, IRS said all the pre-taxed account, including IRAs, your SEP IRA, Simple IRA, all the other retirement plans which you have not been taxed before. There's a rule you have to start withdrawing a portion of your money and pay the tax to Uncle Sam when you turn 72. This 72 was 70 and a half before Secure Act. It was recently changed to age 72. Just make sure I don't skip slides. So basically, let's take a look who will be subject to this rule. This RMD is actually not a new concept at all. It's actually applied to every single person who has this kind of account. So because the tax has never been paid in those accounts, this is also called forced retirement distribution. So basically the IRS said, okay, we are giving you all the tax advantage along the way. You never pay tax of the money in those accounts. Now please give us the share. And then we are forcing you to take money out and then pay us the tax. Let's talk about what kind of account will be subject to this rule. Basically, most of the IRA, the pre-tax account, will subject to the RMD. Also including this Roth 401k. Not a lot of companies are offering that, but there are some companies. One special note is Roth IRA, which is my favorite retirement account, because it's all tax-free money, it's tax-free growth. So all the money in your Roth IRA account will not be subject to RMDs. What if you don't know and you did not take any money out when you turned 72 or any of the year after 72? Well, you are facing a big, hefty penalty, 50%, which is, again, one of the worst penalty. Most of the case, you hear 10%, right? If you start withdrawing early of your retirement account before 59 and a half, but this is 50%. Like I mentioned, the 70, it's a new age proposed and passed by law. And then the Secure Act was effective on January 1st, 2020. And now everybody has to start withdrawing. The starting age now is 70 instead of 70 and a half, which has been for very long time. It was 70 and a half for a lot of years. And this is the publication of the RMD rule, which is the 590-B. There's two tables IRS defined to calculate what is the RMD. Remember, RMD is a number. It's a requirement minimum distribution of that year. You have to, the minimum amount of money you have to take out from that account and pay the corresponding personal income tax to Uncle Sam that day. There's two tables. One is called Uniform Lifetime Table. The second table is Joint Life Expectancy Table. I will not go into very detail into those two tables, but I do want to give you some numbers so you can have some sense what are the numbers we're talking about, the RMD amount we're talking about. As this is what we already mentioned, I listed all the details of the account which will be subject to RMDs. A very quick sample, if you are single. Oh, by the way, I need to mention this very quickly. It will be different if it's male, female, single, the amount you have in your account. You have the both options to calculate, and you can pick the amount you want to use based on the two tables. For example, if you are single, based on the table 1, which is the uniform lifetime table, based on this table 1, and you have 500,000, $500,000, that's the number of your balance of the last day of previous year. Just say you turned 72 this year, and then your RMD for this age 72 will be about 20,000. There's a life expectancy factor published by IRS in those two tables. Basically, the calculation is to take the balance of your account, the last day of the previous year, divide by your life expectancy factor. If you are actually age 80, of this year of 2021, then if you have this 500,000 balance, your minimum requirement distribution will be about 21,000. This is what IRS told us. You have both options. You need to calculate, since a lot of people will have multiple IRAs, maybe different custodian or the same custodian, multiple accounts. You need to calculate each IRA, the minimum RMD for each IRA separately. But you do have the option to either aggregate all of your amount just from one account, or you take a portion from each of your IRAs. Like I mentioned, the Roth IRA will not subject to this rule, which is one of the best retirement accounts available to most of us. Let's talk about the 50%. 50%, because it's percent, we know it has to be based on one number. What this number is, this requirement minimum distribution amount of 20,000. So if for example, if this year your RMD is 20,000 and you only took out, say, 19,000, or you took out 10,000, it's, as long as it's lower than 20,000, even it's 90,999, you will be hit by this $10,000 penalty, which is half of this RMD amount. Now let's talk about a quick intro about what do you do with this money. Well, this is the required minimum distribution. You can use it for your living expense. You could reinvest into your favorite investment vehicle. You can also purchase life insurance or annuities, which for building up your legacy. You can also do charitable donations. But remember, because those money you took out are never taxed before, so you have to pay personal income tax of the entire amount that year you're taking the money out. So hopefully this will give you a quick snapshot about RMDs. Just remember 72, remember the amount, which based on the IRS table, and also the 50% penalty. You have to plan well. Now let's talk about the 10-year rule and the Secure Act. As I mentioned, it became law on December 2019 and effective January 1st, 2020. Actually, Secure Act made a lot of changes to the retirement. The age 72 was 70 and a half, as we mentioned. That's one of the change. There's a couple of other changes, which basically it makes the retirement planning much easier and more accessible to a lot of people. Now, a lot of part-time workers are eligible to participate. For this 10-year rule, which I believe is one of the biggest change for this Secure Act, basically what it means now, most of the IRA accounts need to be depleted within 10 years after the non-spousal inheritance. Non-spousal, which is very important, right? If, say, a husband, wife, if the husband passed away, the wife just inherited from the husband, this 10-year rule does not apply, which is very important to remember. So basically, as we mentioned, you have to deplete every single dollar within the 10th year after the death of the owner for the non-spousal beneficiaries. But remember, there are some exceptions. I will not go into details about what will fall into that exception, and then the 10-year rule does not apply. Also, the 10-year rule, this is very important to remember. It applies regardless of the age of the deceased IRA owner or qualified plan participant. Also, the 10-year means the 10th year after the death. By that December 31st, last day of the death. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that disturbance from the kids. Let me go back. I have this catchy title. What? 50% penalty again? Yes. Unfortunately, if you don't know this rule or you did not comply this rule, IRS will hit you with another 50%. It will apply to the amount which is not taken from the inherited amount. Also, remember, I tell my client about this 10-year rule. Say a person non-spousal inheritance. When this person when this account needs to be depleted, the kids are already in their golden age of earning. So basically, you will add on top of what this adult kids earns on that year. If say this person is 200K income, and then this RA amount, just say 1 million, right? And we can do evenly, or we can do one lump sum. We can just say we do evenly. For that year, another 100K will add up to the 200K income, since the money was not taxed before. Also remember, the Roth IRA we mentioned, it will not subject to RMD because the money is already after tax. The money growing inside is tax-free, but it does apply to the 10-year rule, which basically the beneficiary still need to deplete all the dollar amount in this account by the 10th year, but there's no tax added to the beneficiary since the money is already taxed inside of the Roth IRA. But for most of the pre-tax money, this added in personal income is a big issue, especially as I just mentioned, most of the adult kids are in their golden age, and then their yearly income is pretty high. So basically, I want to give some summary on why I'm doing this and collaboratively working with PurseString. I think the financial literacy, I did not get very systematic education on this. And then the last 20 plus years I'm in the US, I made a lot of financial mistakes. I think I want to share my own lessons to people like you, and then to the audience within PurseString, or many more people in the world, to really start to learn everything you could learn in your lifetime. Also, this one I think I mentioned before, be the director. Ask your professionals what you want to do. Ask the right questions so you will get the right answers. Sometimes if you don't, it's really you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know, for example, very quickly, self-directed IRA can own real estate. You think all the IRAs should be just with Fidelity or TD Ameritrade. But if you self-direct that IRA account out of the custodian, the IRA account can own real estate. Also, there's a new tax laws that like this Secure Act. It just impact a lot of people's financial planning as well as estate planning. So we need to really on top of those changes. The plan side, I think it's very important. There's a old saying: if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. I incorporate my practice the PDCA circle, which is a quality concept actually. It's plan, do, check, act, and then you repeat the circle next year or next quarter. I think it's very, very important to have this kind of practice in your wealth building years. So at the later stage of your life, you won't have too much worry about where the money will come from. How could I live with this kind of financial situation? You will have that sound sleep at night. Also, avoid any penalties. This kind of penalty we just talked about, 50% RMDs if you don't take out be above or equal to that number, 50% if you don't deplete the entire IRA account within the 10th year. Those kind of penalties is actually gonna hurt your financial picture drastically. Warren Buffett said, right, never lose money, but he's doing the investment. For us, this penalty, we should take every possible way to avoid any penalties. Another point I want to make is Social Security system is such complex system, which I'm far from even not say an expert. I'm far from knowing in a just maybe 50%. But I really encourage everyone to learn the system and see what will be the best benefit you could get from your situation. For a lot of people, think Social Security is that kind of pension, right, for you to live in your retirement age. So plan well and then know all the rules, know when to take it, how to do it. It's crucial. Also, I mentioned this estate planning. The law it's just a proposal, a lot of rumor about drastically lowering the estate's exemption number. Right now it's 11.7 million per person. So on the federal level, there's different state on the state level. Some state won't charge you any estate tax or inherited tax, but some state will charge you both. So you have to take a look your state situation. But like I mentioned, if this new law about estate tax is lowered drastically, now people are talking about 3.5 million per person, which is a significant decrease from 11.7 million. So I want to give this summary to all the audience. I think it's very important to be your own planner, know as much as you can, as well as the implementation. This do and act are different, but I think that it's what this do will impact what your life your wealth building situation will be. Also, this act, after you check, after you rebalance, after you shift your money around within different tax bucket, this act will also make a significant impact of your wealth building and wealth accumulation. So my last word to all the audience is be a lifetime learner on financial literacy. You really need to invest in yourself. And then knowledge is power. Doing is the key. You really need to start doing and then start implementing, start checking, and then start acting. That's all for my presentation. I will go back to Maggie. Hope everybody can hear and learn a point or two from my presentation. Sorry about the interruption from the kids.
That's what happens when you're a mompreneur.
Yes, that's the reality, so people can tell.
I love that. It was so much great information. I do have a couple questions for you. And the first one is, why are these penalties so high?
Because Uncle Sam wants the money.
I just can't believe that. I mean, I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah, that's a very simple answer. They want their money. They gave you the free tax money for so long. They said, okay, now you're 72. Where's my share? Come and give it back to us. If you don't do it, then the penalty hit. Yeah, it's 50%. It's outrageous. It's crazy.
That's wild. So is it common for people to forget about the required minimum distribution?
Yes, especially the first year or two. Also, before it was 70 and half, right? There's the half year. Sometimes people they knew it, but they don't know it's actually to what detail it is calculated. Sometimes they missed it. So I think it's very important to know, but now it's 72, so it's easier, right? It's the year you turn 72, that year. If your birthday is December 31st, that day you turn 72, take the money out that year. That's easier.
And does this depend or change if you're married at all? Let's say if your spouse turns 72 before you, they just take their money, but you don't have to do anything differently?
That's why there's two tables. There's the uniform life expectancy. There's also the joint life. There's different, if your spouse is 10 years younger or 20 years younger, if you use the second table, probably your RMD is lower. As most of the rules of IRS, they give you the choice, right? If you can calculate, if I can get most benefit using this rule, you go ahead with that. Yes.
Interesting. And so do financial planners typically work this RMD into their long-term financial plan?
I believe so, yes. They should, since as we mentioned, 50%, you really need to take any single possibility to avoid this kind of penalty. But it's very important for us to know this kind of rule, especially when penalty applies.
And so I'm assuming, just because, I know Uncle Sam, there's no warning, there's no letter in the mail that's kind of giving you this announcement of, hey, you should pull out this money before you get 50%.
I don't think so. Yes.
So they got to come to our Facebook Lives more often. And then it was interesting how the male and the female, they already predict our since women typically live longer, how they already put that in the table in adjusting our money in the RMD.
Yes, basically, they don't want you to have a burden, right? But in the meantime, the IRS said, okay, we give you 20, 30, 40, 50 years to deduct the money from your paycheck. You never paid any penny to us. Mm-hmm. So we still want our money at certain stage of your life. That's why they come up with this. If I remember correctly, this RMD rule was there since 1970s, but don't quote me on that.
It's all very interesting.
It's not something new. It's not something. It was there all along. Yes.
Okay. And then, Jing, if somebody called to work with you, what services would you help them with, or what is your expertise in that area?
As I mentioned, I have two companies. One is on the insurance side. I'm independent insurance agent. Also, I'm on the real estate side. I'm a licensed salesperson in the state of New York. So I think for your audience, I would love to help them on their financial situation, and I'll do some consultation for them. Life insurance is well underutilized in this arena, especially with this the market, right? The salesperson, they just say, okay, I really want to sell. I have this quota to meet. Please buy something from me. I have to meet that quota. But I think my approach is I will sit down with you and then know your situation and see if just maybe sometime a term policy will be the best, right? We'll just say what will be the best situation for you to have the protection, to have the cash value growth, whatever you are looking for. I'm sitting on the next to you, not in front of you, to push the product in front of you, saying, okay, I have to meet the quota and buy something.
Right. And we appreciate that. I mean, we don't want anyone pushing a product, but always the best interest in mind. And I know all our professionals give like a free 15, 20-minute call just to make sure it's a proper match. But then if we're going to go about these services, is this an hourly thing? Is it paid per product that you purchase? Or is it a little bit of both?
It's actually, I will not charge anything from my client. It's a commission based. As you know, licensed insurance agent is paid by the insurance company. Whatever the carrier or product my client chooses, I get paid from the company. I don't charge anything from my clients.
That's amazing. So we could talk to you, get our finances in order, and really it's no cost to the client because the company pays you. So somebody like me wouldn't even have to pay you.
Yes. And then I'm also independent, right? I don't say, okay, this company I represent will be the best company, will fit your need. I'll provide, usually I gave 2 to 3 companies for you to choose. Everyone is different. I have clients saying, I need this big company. I know this company. I don't know that company, although that company probably I pay less and get the same benefit or product. Some people just say, okay, give me whatever my money worth, right? I want the best quality and price product. So everyone is different. I'm independent. I represent multiple companies or carriers.
I love that because then you can really give the option and have somebody's best interest in mind of what really fits for them.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited you came on today to give all this wonderful information. Please, anyone, if you have any questions about any of this topic or any of your financial plan, please reach out to Jing. She's more than happy to help you answer any of your questions. As you're a lifetime learner, and I love how you always express how education is so important, which is true. Purse Strings is all about getting women to come to the table and own their financial story versus handing it off to somebody else, because it's so important to run your own orchestra, like you were saying. I love that analogy.
Yeah. And then one thing very quick I want to add is the mindset, right? I think people attend this webinar have already had that kind of mindset, but also very importantly, you could know a lot of things, but if you don't do it, nothing will change from 0 to 1. So I think it's a combination of the mindset saying, okay, I know I can do it, right? I would love to build wealth. I think I have the ability. I want to accomplish such in my life. The second part will be the action, right? The implementation. You really need to do some. You say, okay, I want to learn this, but maybe next year, or maybe after my vacation. I want to learn Social Security, but maybe when I'm 60 something, when I really need to dig out what will be the best age to retire and start collecting Social Security from the government. But I think it's the both, right? The mindset as well as the implementation, the actual action.
That's so right. Some of that I always just compare to like working out. You know what you need to do, but we're all about, I'll start on Monday, I'll start on the 1st. Time just keeps slipping by, so we just got to buck up and get it done.
Exactly.
So thank you again, Jing, for coming on today. You can always reach out to Jing at altuslanding.com. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you can check her out on our website, pursestrings.co. And then we'll put out the handout tomorrow with her information on it as well. That's an overview of this presentation and next steps you might want to take. Just to let the audience know, next week we are taking off because it's going to be the 5th of July, and we feel like some people might just still be out and about. So we'll be back here on the 12th to do and continue our Money Mondays. So thank you again, Jing. I appreciate you being on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Monday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.